everybody, welcome to yet another video. So today we're having a little look at the Anest Iwata LPH300. Now they do this in 1.2, 1.4 and 1.6. This one is actually a 1.4 version. Now I got this from Painting Tools Japan, which I use for quite a lot of my equipment these days. They ship obviously directly from Japan. Well, I say obviously, but they are in Japan. They ship from Japan. They give me a very good service. I do buy the guns. I don't actually buy them on eBay. I buy them via Instagram. I send them a message, tell them what they want. They tell me a price, and I send the payment through by PayPal, and then they send the goods. It works out cheaper that way than buying it off eBay, because I guess it's because there's no eBay fees or whatever, but that's what I do, just so that people know. And I will put a link in the description, because as I say, they give me good service, and people often ask where I get the things from. But I know in the UK, I think you can get these. Are officially imported, although the 400 version, the LPH300, isn't officially imported into the UK, and I think you get these in the US as well. But there's not a huge range of caps. There's just one cap for the three different sizes. But I'm a bit late to the LPH300. What actually made me get this was getting an LPH400, and I really like the split tip guns, whether they be a 3 split tip or a 4 split tip. And as I say, I really like the atomization of the split tip guns. So I saw the LPH300 and I thought, well, I want to try one of those. And I went for 1.4 because I thought that would probably be somewhere in the middle of, often when you get a smaller tip, you will get finer atomization. I know you can turn a gun down with a fluid output, which I actually did in this case, but because you turn it down, I often think that it's not giving quite full performance. That could just be something that I feel, but it definitely seems that way to me. But I did turn it down on this because I was after a very, very thin film of clear coat. And something like this is capable of producing superb results with a very thin film of clear coat. So the clear coat I used on this was the Kapci 6030, and that's with the fast hardener. And anybody that's watched my video of various clear coats I've been using will know that the fast hardener in the Kapci, whether it be the 6030 or the 6050 hardener, same hardener as far as I know, acts like a standard hardener. So you can only, well, I can only really use it in pretty good weather. If I was to try and leave it to air dry at say 10 degrees Celsius, it literally takes a couple of days to go off. It's that bad. So the weather when I was doing this was 19 degrees Celsius. After the day before, it was up to 27 Celsius. So 19 degrees is about, what's that, 65, 66 Fahrenheit. So not perfect for painting, but not bad at all, really. So I didn't need to use any heat as far as I remember. And what I was after, as I say, is a very thin film of clear coat. Now, I added a flex additive to the clear coat. Depending which one you use and what you want, I added 10%. I didn't want loads. Some people actually add more, but it allows a degree of flex in the primer, paint, or clear coat, whatever you're using it in. So it's ideal for these type of plastics, because this is effectively an off-road style bike. It's quite an old bike, but I was doing it because I'm jazzing one up, and I wanted it to look a bit more modern. So all the graphics and that you see was actually done on my Cameo 4, which is they call it a plotter, don't they? It's just a vinyl cutter effectively. So I did the graphics, etc., and it just makes it look slightly more modern. The bike's not completed yet, so you can't see a completed bike, because it's just not done. But I wanted to get the paintwork out of the way. But as I say, I thought this gun would actually be ideal for doing it, and it turned out to be an absolute gem. And I left myself wondering why I hadn't got one of these years ago. I'm a big fan. If anybody watches my top 12 minigun videos, mini gun, because this is more of a midi gun than a minigun. Anybody who watches that will see that I put the W300 WB. I can't remember, second or third place now, but I put that very, very high because it's an exceptional gun for giving something like this a really good, fine atomization. So it can give you a good, with a better quality clear coat, and the Kapci is only a reasonable quality, but it still flows out quite well. You're able to get a nice thin film of clear coat, and on something like this where it's an off-road style bike, there's quite a lot of flex in the plastics. So if you put I find anyway, if you put a thin film of clear coat on the plastics with a bit of flex additive, it doesn't crack, it doesn't do anything. And the same applies for base coat. Some people have said to me, you don't need to do it for base coat, but I do it for everything. It doesn't seem to affect the base coat, and it doesn't crack either. So yeah, you know, I mean, for the sake of it, then I would put it in. You don't have to go mad with it. But if you look at the way I'm using the gun, as I say, it's got a nice big fan with very, very fine atomization, which is the same with all the split tip guns. I've been trying some of the new Porpish guns, which is like what I would call a quality Chinese gun, and that too has been superb at atomization. So I think this split tip thing really does make a difference. Not what everybody needs, because one of the drawbacks of having a split tip is it definitely slows the gun down, as with this, which is why, as I say, I went for the 1.4 rather than the 1.2. I suspect the 1.2 might even give you finer atomization than this, but I mean, you know, I didn't want anything different to this. This thing was absolutely superb. Now, I'll just put up in the corner now a little video just to show you that everything doesn't always go according to plan. Some of these bike plastics, I know people think sometimes because you're doing bike stuff, it's somehow easier than doing car stuff. Now, I don't do much car stuff at all because I just haven't really got the facilities, but I find when I've done car stuff, and you know, I don't do complete cars or anything, as I say, I haven't got those facilities, but if I do car stuff, I find it easier generally than bike stuff, because bike stuff is so fiddly, and bike people, I mean, this is actually for me, but bike people are normally really fussy as well. I suppose because, especially with tanks and things, it's in their face all the time. They're riding along and they look down and they see what you've done all the time. So yeah, I you know, that's just the way I feel. I feel that sometimes we're relegated a bit, and I think it's actually, there's more work involved often with bike stuff than there is with some of the car stuff. I'm not talking about custom builders and that. I appreciate there's a hell of a lot of work goes into that, but just generally the bike stuff with the decals and the smaller parts, being able to hold them, etc. And you'll see why I'm saying that now, because I'll put the little video I've got up now in the top left hand corner, but you can see when I was doing this mudguard, it didn't actually go according to plan, and it's so difficult sometimes to hold this stuff. I don't like hanging it up. With the underside of tanks I hang up, I'll hang the tank up and do it underneath, but the stuff like this I prefer to do down on the ground, or down on the surface, rather than just having it dangling, because I think you can get a better finish if you do it this way. But going back to the gun, as I say, I was so late to getting this. I wish I'd have got it years ago, because for a midi-sized gun, as long as you don't want speed with it, it's probably the best gun I've used ever, without doubt. I think I prefer it to the DV1S, and the reason I think I prefer it to the DV1S is that it's just a bit more of everything than the DV1S. It probably doesn't atomize any finer, although I think it probably atomizes as fine, but it just it will just give you more if you want to, and by that I mean it's faster if you want it to be, because the DV1S is extremely slow. Very, very good, but extremely slow. And also, if you, like I did, buy this thing from Japan, these are much cheaper. I can't remember how much I paid for this now. I don't know. It's about, well, if I give you a price, it might be wrong. It's about £220, I think, but don't quote me on that. But a DV1S is like 300, well, in the UK, it's £370. So this thing's not far off half price of a DV1S, and I would rather have this any day. Atomization, as I say, is excellent. Overspray is extremely low. I use this, I think it's quoted at 1.1 bar. I use this at 1.3 bar, which is about 20 psi, something like that. So a little bit more than is recommended, but I just wanted, as I say, I just wanted a superb finish. Another thing I'll say is, when you see the stuff at the end, because we always, well, these days we always try and show the stuff at the end, it is off the gun. Nothing's ever polished, nothing's ever changed in any way. So you will see the odd nib if it needs denibbing, you know, if there's a nib on there, you will see that. But I only mention that because I had two people today, one on YouTube and one on Instagram, message me just saying what grits do I use to polish before they go on camera. And I said, no, everything you see is off the gun, because that's the whole idea of my videos, is to show you what the gun can do. You know, we can all polish afterwards and make it look super smooth, super flat and crystal clear, but that's not the idea of the video. The idea of the video is to show you what I've done with the gun, so you could expect to get the same. If you did the same as me, you could get the same. That's the idea of it. So yeah, everything you see is off the gun finish. But as I say, I can't praise this thing high enough, and I really wish I'd have got one of these years ago, especially considering the price. But for some reason I just overlooked it, and I'm not quite sure why. And as I say, getting the LPH400 just triggered me into thinking, well, what about the LPH300? It's effectively a split tip W300. So if you've got anything W300 related, like I have, the stuff will interchange. Not the cap and the tip. You'd have to change the cap and the tip at the same time, because the hole in the centre of the cap is bigger. But as you can see, a great little tool, gives a superb finish. I really can't emphasize how good this thing is, and it depends where you are as to how much these are. But as I say, I got this from Japan, from Painting Tools Japan, and it was a lot cheaper than I could find it in the UK, and it's a lot cheaper than the DV1S. Slightly different gun, bit bigger, capable of a bit more, probably not so suited to base coat as the DV1S, although yeah, it probably is, to be fair. Yeah, I mean, I can't fault it. I really like it for clear coat. If I want a really thin film of clear coat, as I keep saying, I know I keep saying it, but it's capable of superb results. You'll see the stuff outside in a minute. It's a different, outside is normally a slightly different camera, although this should be a foam camera, so the yellows look slightly different, but you get the proper vivid yellow outside, as you see now. Now, to get to this stage, I base coated and clear coated the panels. I put the decals on. I give about 3 good thick coats of clear coat. I then sanded most of that off just to get a flat surface so that the decals aren't raised on the side panels and the mud guards, etc. And then we just do, as I say, a couple of thin films of clear coat, because your UV coating is already there in the initial clear coat, and you'll just put in basically to give it a gloss finish, and also to protect the decal slightly more from UV light. But that's how we get to this stage, and I think you'll agree it looks really nice. I was well happy with this. and there's hardly anything on them. You keep anything yellow, you'll attract a load of flies, which is why I keep brushing them off. Anyway guys, hope you enjoyed the video as always, and maybe think about giving us a thumbs up and a subscription. Cheers, bye bye.